Thank you very much, Paul. Now, for more on the human rights violations in the DRC, I am still with Paul Ndiho. Good afternoon, Paul.
Thanks for having me, Shaka. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm terrific. It's a pleasure, of course, seeing you. Talk to me, Paul. You say, first of all, that you were embedded with both the Rwandan and Ugandan troops. If true, how were you able to take that footage?
Well, thanks, Shaka. First of all, let me say that at the time when that massacre happened in Bunia, in Nyekunde near Bunia, I had spent almost a week there, and the night of the massacre, I'd actually spent a night at one of the chief's place called Chief Kawa Pango, who was a Hema leader and who lived in the Nyekunde village. So what happened that night was I had spent a night at his place, and overnight I had screams of people, young kids, babies, women crying, and in the morning I decided to wake up and follow the crowd. And like we walked for about half a mile. When we got to the location where the massacres were taking place, what I witnessed was just horrible. There was smoke all over the place, people crying, and I decided to, first of all, I stood there and wondered whether I should record or not, but I decided to go ahead and record what was taking place, and some of the images you just saw were happening in real time.
Did you, in fact, broadcast that footage on local television in East Africa and particularly in Uganda? And if so, what was the reaction from the public, and what about the government?
Yes, we did at the time, but of course there was the footage that we used was heavily edited. But after airing what I aired, I got a lot of reactions, a lot of callers from people that I didn't know, especially from Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, the U.S. Embassy in Kampala, and all the other NGOs. Everybody wanted to know what had really happened, and I think that footage helped to play a role somehow, because it ended up actually changing the public opinion of what was going on in the Congo. People had heard about these massacres, these killings in the Congo, but they didn't know exactly what was going on, how these numbers add up. When we talk about Congo, they say 5 million people have died, but they didn't know how certain people had died. And so seeing those images was something that helped to galvanize the international community, and people started calling in, and action was taken. That's how the UN in 2000 decided to come up with this resolution to send UN peacekeepers in the Congo.
What about the reaction from the government? Obviously, I don't think they were amused by your footage. Where were they?
Absolutely not. I mean, even taking those pictures, I was taking great personal risk because at the time, if anybody had identified me as recording what I did record, I'll probably not be here today. I think what happened was I used my journalistic instincts. I had gotten some tips from my dad, who had been in the military. He told me what to do in case anything happens to me. So I went there knowing that it was a risky thing that I had to do, and I had to take all the necessary precaution.
Now, having, of course, looked through the recent UN report, do you feel vindicated that you actually did your job the best way that you could have done it?
I don't think I would say vindicated, but I'm happy that the report is finally speaking to some of these things that you just watched. I think it's important that as a reporter, when you are on the ground and you see certain things happening, especially atrocities like this happening, it's your responsibility and duty to do what is expected of you.
Thank you very much, Paul, for your insight.
A pleasure talking to you, Shaka.
You're most welcome.